We always praise Batman as the most realistic superhero because he has no superpowers, no mutations, just peak human strength and enough money to buy anything he wants. That's the whole pitch. He is just a man. That is why he is the most relatable superhero of all. But here is the question nobody actually stops to ask. If a real human being tried to live Bruce Wayne's life exactly as the comics and movies show it, how long would he actually survive? Not against the Joker, but against his own body, against the government, and against his own bank account. Today, we are putting the real Batman on trial and breaking down 4 brutal parts of his life that Hollywood always hides from you. Let's start with the toys. On paper, Batman's gadgets are the reason he can compete with gods and aliens without needing any powers. But most of them are borrowed from real physics, and physics doesn't care how much money you have in your Swiss bank account. Take the armored batsuit, the very thing meant to stop bullets and knives in the movies. When he takes a hit, he just keeps moving as if nothing happened. In reality, body armor doesn't erase force, it only spreads it out across the body. A bullet that doesn't penetrate the suit still slams its entire kinetic energy into his ribs and internal organs like a heavy sledgehammer. Real soldiers wearing top-tier plate armor have suffered severe broken ribs and deep internal bruising from stopped rounds. The real Batman wouldn't shrug off gunfire. He'd be coughing up blood under the cowl, dealing with cracked ribs and internal bleeding right in the middle of a fight. Then there is the iconic cape, which stiffens midair and lets him glide silently across the Gotham skyline. But a cape is just fabric, not an actual wing. Real flight depends heavily on wing loading, how much surface area you have relative to your total body weight. Batman is a large, heavy man wearing a dense, armored suit, and he is working with only a few square feet of stiffened fabric. The math of aerodynamics says his glide wouldn't be a graceful swoop between skyscrapers, it would be a slightly slowed fall. That impact speed is still more than high enough to shatter both of his legs the very first time he tries to land on a hard concrete roof. So before Batman ever throws a single punch at a thug, his own experimental equipment has already put him straight into an intensive care unit. Now, let's talk about his daily schedule. Bruce Wayne runs a billion-dollar multinational corporation by day and fights a one-man war on crime by night. In the comics, he barely sleeps, and it never seems to slow him down or dull his edge. But in the real world, sleep is not optional maintenance. It is a biological necessity. It is the vital window when your brain clears out toxic metabolic waste, repairs muscle tissue, and resets your reaction time. Go just one single night without it, and your neurological reflexes drop to the exact level of someone who is legally drunk. Go weeks, months, or years without proper rest, and the damage compounds exponentially. Memory failures, severely impaired judgment, a completely weakened immune system, and in extreme cases, terrifying hallucinations. Batman needs split-second decisions and absolute peak physical reflexes to survive a knife attack or a hail of gunfire. But the grueling lifestyle required to make him Batman is the exact thing destroying the very reflexes he needs to stay alive. It is a vicious loop with no way out. The version of Bruce Wayne who has been doing this for 10 straight years wouldn't be a legendary, hyper-focused master strategist. He would be a chronically exhausted, broken man who is constantly one bad night's sleep away from a fatal mistake. Let's say his body somehow holds up against physics and exhaustion. Now he has an even bigger problem, the United States government. Batman isn't just fighting crime every single night. He is actively committing a massive spree of felonies of his own. Breaking and entering private properties, assault, battery, kidnapping, and torturing information out of informants without any legal authority whatsoever. In the real world, that is not vigilante justice. That is a relentless pattern of serious federal crimes, and prosecutors do not care how many bad guys you have caught if you shattered the Constitution to catch them. Then there is the Batcomputer, quietly monitoring the entire city, tapping communications, and tracking citizens without a single warrant. That isn't just a cool gadget. That is a massive, private, completely unregulated mass surveillance operation. And real intelligence agencies do not tolerate domestic competition. The FBI and the NSA wouldn't send Batman a thank you letter for his help. They would immediately open a high-priority federal investigation into who is running an illegal wiretap and surveillance network out of Gotham. Furthermore, modern forensics make anonymous vigilantism nearly impossible to sustain for years. Between advanced gait analysis, biometric tracking, and widespread facial recognition cameras, sooner or later, an algorithm is going to connect the dots to the billionaire who mysteriously vanishes into thin air every single time Batman appears in public. The mask that was supposed to protect his loved ones quickly becomes the greatest liability of his entire life. Which brings us to the part nobody ever wants to talk about. The bill. Being Batman is not a quirky hobby. It is a massive, incredibly expensive enterprise, and businesses cost astronomical amounts of money. The Batcave alone, with its custom underground excavation, advanced security systems, massive supercomputers, and the enormous power grid requirements to run it all, would easily run into the tens of millions of dollars just to keep the lights on. Add a fleet of custom, one-off armored vehicles, experimental body armor, and constant, cutting-edge gadget research, and you are looking at ongoing operational costs that easily rival a small defense contractor. Meanwhile, the man funding all of this is supposed to be running Wayne Enterprises, a massive public corporation with strict shareholders who expect their CEO to actually show up to work and maximize profits. A chronically sleep-deprived, frequently injured, and mysteriously absent Bruce Wayne is not a compelling, visionary leader. He is a massive legal and financial liability. Shareholders will sue CEOs for a fraction of the chaos Bruce causes, let alone routinely vanishing at night and returning battered and bleeding. Stock prices do not reward mystery and nocturnal vigilantes. They ruthlessly punish unpredictability. So even if the criminals never caught him and the government never unmasked him, his own board of directors eventually would. The real Batman wouldn't be taken down by a theatrical supervillain in a colorful costume. He would be taken down by an aggressive shareholder meeting and a team of corporate lawyers. So picture that cave one more time. The armored suit hanging silently in the dark, the Batmobile idling in the shadows, and the supercomputer humming with a city's worth of stolen secrets. In the comic books, this is always the thrilling beginning of an immortal legend. But in reality, it is the start of a very short, extremely expensive, and agonizingly painful career. Bruce Wayne doesn't have a spider bite or a radioactive accident to blame for his fate. He makes a deliberate choice. And the honest, unfiltered version of that choice isn't a triumphant origin story. It's a human body breaking down, a corporate empire collapsing from within, and the federal government closing in from all sides at once. Batman was never truly supposed to be the realistic superhero. He was simply the one whose inevitable downfall makes the most logical sense.